Hello everyone, I'm Tony Marlette Jr., advisor at Brookside Tax and Financial Group. Thanks for joining us on the webinar today. As the name implies, we're going to go over some Social Security basics. And when I say basics, I really mean just basic information. We're going to skim the very top of the surface on what you should know if you're looking to file Social Security claim, or if that time is maybe even as far as a year or two out, maybe even 5 years out. We'll go over some useful information and things to expect. So we'll start off with, most people have heard Social Security, they're aware of what it is. We'll start off with a definition here. And it's benefits paid to a retired or disabled worker or a surviving family based on their eligibility. So very simply, the taxes that are taken out of your check are dedicated to yours or somebody else's, frankly, Social Security benefit. It's a funding program that came around in the 1930s. And we'll go over a little bit on the formula here. The formula has changed over the years as the population has gotten much larger. There's always been varying degrees of the amount of people that are putting in versus the amount of people that are drawing on it. So some things do change over time with this. If we start off with kind of a basic formula here, most years there is a cost of living adjustment, and that's basically an inflation raise. You're not getting a boost in your pay. Your pay is essentially keeping up with rising costs, and that number is always going to be based on the Consumer Price Index, which is an index that frankly tracks inflation. So when costs go up, you get the raise, but again, you're kind of treading water because you're not really getting ahead of the game just by getting a raise. But you don't lose money either, because inflation historically is about 2.25%. If that's the case and you get that 2.25% raise on your Social Security, you are keeping up with rising costs. We talk about credits, and all this formula equates to what is known as a PIA, or a primary insurance amount. And all that is the amount that you get when you go to file your benefits, assuming you file at your full retirement age. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. But the amount that you collect is going to be either smaller or larger than your primary insurance amount, depending on your full retirement age and when you collect. But if we go back to our formula here, 4 credits for every year worked means you get 1 credit for every quarter worked. And you can see in the formula, $1,320 in income per quarter will qualify you for Social Security benefits over 40 quarters, which is 10 years. You may see the deduction on your paycheck throughout the years, known as the OASDI tax. OASDI is Old Age Survivor Disability Income, also known as Social Security, and it's a tax on your earnings up to $124,800 in earnings. A lot of people are aware Social Security is running into some funding issues. Around 2035, there may be a shortage. Not talking about completely going away or anything like that, but a shortage. We'll talk a little bit more about how to get around some of that. But they do tax your earnings on up to $124,800. There's a study out actually that if we were to eliminate that cap of 124.8, we could solve a lot of the Social Security issues for about the next 75 years. Like most people, I'm not in favor of a lot of increase in taxes, but that doesn't really seem like one of the crazier ones. It seems like it could be beneficial to people, especially when we think about everything as far as taxes and increases and those things. Your benefits can be reduced if you collect before your full retirement age, and especially if you are still working. The silver lining behind that, if you're still working, you can add to your future Social Security benefits. So of course people want to know about taxes. Whenever there's extra income, you're going to have taxes. So what does that look like? So your benefits, remember, are always going to be taxed on your total income, not just your Social Security income. And here's what that would look like. 50% of your benefit would be taxed if you're married filing jointly and your gross income is between that 32 to 44 range. So gross income between 32,000 and 44,000, assuming you're married filing jointly, 50% of your benefit is taxable. If your gross income married filing jointly is above 44,000, 85% of your benefit is taxable. It's important to remember that that does not mean that you're going to pay 50% in taxes or you're going to pay 85% in taxes. That's not your bracket. It just means that 50% of your benefit is taxable or 85% of your benefit is taxable. It's not that you're paying that much, quote unquote, in taxes. If you do file Social Security early and you do have earned income above that $18,960 amount, your benefit does get reduced 50 cents on the dollar for everything earned before your full retirement age. And we'll talk about full retirement age and what that means too. So additional information here, there's some really important things in here. If you're a government employee, you're probably familiar with what they call the windfall provision. So government employees are covered by the Federal Employee Retirement System, which replaced the Civil Service Retirement System back in 1984. So what the windfall provision says is that, look, you can't double dip here. You're not getting your full Social Security benefit and a full government pension. So a lot of people that are federal workers or federal employees really at any level are familiar with the fact that even though they pay into Social Security, you are going to get a greatly reduced amount, especially if you have the government pension. Full retirement age does vary, and benefits can be reduced if you take them early. The full retirement age right now is age 67, and it is scheduled to go up a couple of months each year. And 60% of all claims come in before that full retirement age. So almost 2 out of every 3 claims for Social Security come early. And generally speaking, if you take it early, you're missing out on about an 8% per year, 8% of your Social Security monthly benefit per year for every year that you take it early. And then benefits do reach a maximum at age 70. So there's no benefit in waiting beyond age 70. If you haven't filed yet, you want to definitely get that done by age 70 or at age 70 at the latest. Some other additional information here. This break-even point, I think, is something that really makes a big difference for a lot of people. The break-even point just refers to the difference between you taking a benefit early and a smaller benefit for maybe a longer period of time versus waiting and taking a larger benefit for potentially a shorter amount of time. So for example, if you have life expectancy, say to age 80, does it make more sense for you to take benefits from age 62 to 80 at a smaller amount? Or does it make more sense for you to take benefits from age 70 to 80 at the larger amount for a shorter amount of time? We're not going to project anybody's life expectancy, but what we can do is run a Social Security Maximizer report and give you the different scenarios, customize it to your individual situation, and let you know, hey, this is option A, this is option B, this is option C, which makes the most sense for you and or your spouse. And what I've seen a lot of times when we do these, sometimes it does make sense for one spouse to, say, file as soon as possible. The spouse with the larger benefit can file later, and then when that spouse files, the original spouse with the smaller benefit can jump on the benefit of the spouse with the larger one, and it creates a larger lifetime pool of money that you can collect from Social Security. So again, we run a really useful report on that, and I think it's a big difference maker for a lot of our clients. It will show you, hey, based on your situation, based on your age, based on your primary insurance amount, this is what's going to be your best option. And again, based on life expectancy, we can pretty much spell that out. We don't know how long anybody's going to live, but it gives you a best guess as far as when to file and how to utilize that in the best way for you and your family. Again, no benefit of collecting after age 70. And this is the part where we ask you to schedule an appointment and you can request a complimentary book. We have my personal favorite on here, the Hindsight book right in the middle. I would have done it differently. I like this one because it's literally written by our clients. They send us in their responses. We asked them some time ago about what would you have done differently in retirement or to get to retirement. And it's fun when people come into the office and they say, hey, I'm in that book. I'm on page 84 or whatever it may be, to give future generations of retirees some advice that maybe they wish they would have done in their time as well. And again, we talked about that strategy session. We can do an in-person strategy session or virtual. Either way, if you schedule within the next 48 hours and make the appointment for the next 2 weeks, give you some time to think about what you want to talk about, some goals, grab some financial statements, we can offer that complimentary strategy session. You can do that a few ways. You can stop into our office, of course. You can call us. The number's right there. You can talk to Regina. She'll get you on our calendar, 440-886-3550, or you can even schedule an appointment on our website at brooksidetax.com. So to the question part of the webinar here, and the first question, good one, how do I file? We probably should have started there. So ultimately, you can either call the 800 number for Social Security, like we mentioned earlier, up to 4 months ahead of time, or you can go online to ssa.gov and file that way. They do have local Social Security offices. Their availability now due to health concerns is by appointment only, but ordinarily you can stop into a local office. Every major city has several of them, and there's certainly several in the Cleveland area as well. Good question. When should I choose to take my benefit is question number 2. So again, I think this is worth repeating again. Everybody's situation is going to be completely different. We can run you with a Social Security Maximizer report and show you in plain English what your best options are going to be. So based on your situation, this makes the most sense. This will give you your biggest benefit for you and potentially your spouse as well. This scenario is what makes the most sense for you, and we can spell it out. There's the old, three-legged retirement stool that kind of factors into inflation here too. So when we talk about that, it's Social Security income, pension income, and investment income. All three of those things combine for most people's retirement income, and with everybody having different amounts of each of those now, pensions are starting to go by the wayside a little bit. 401ks, 403bs, defined contribution plans are starting to become more prevalent. That's also going to factor in to when and how you should take your benefit. And the last question here, what if there's no cost of living adjustment? Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means costs have not gone up over the last year. So if you're not getting a cost of living adjustment, you're not losing any money because costs haven't gone up. So remember that COLA, as they call it, is just designed to keep up with inflation. It's not designed to put you ahead. You're just treading water. And in that situation, if it is a concern for you, like, hey, my Social Security's not earning anything, or it's kind of the same every year, especially when you factor in inflation, we have different ways where we can help you grow the assets that you have without taking on more market risk. And that kind of goes back to that old three-legged retirement stool, retirement income stool that we talked about earlier. Again, give us a call at our office, Brookside Tax and Financial Group, 440-886-3550. You can go onto our website as well, brooksidetax.com. Again, I'm Tony Marlette Jr. Thanks for joining us on the webinar today. Talk to you soon.